line. They were pretty healthy last year, minus a half game for that. They had an easy schedule last year, minus a game for that. They have the hardest schedule this year, minus a game for that. They lost about 1.25 games worth of production, in my opinion, from all those cornerbacks and Cushing retiring. And I think they only gained a half game back in the draft and free agency. I don't think, like I said, that they did enough. Matt Cleo is the biggest name. Their Vegas win total is at 8.5. I have them at 7.65 wins. And I definitely lean to the under here. Now, it's not enough for me to take it, obviously. But looking at their turnover margin being at plus 13 last year, I definitely would not shame me for taking this under. It's gonna be a tough year in this division for the Houston Texans. Let's move right on to the Indianapolis Colts. Their Vegas win total is at 9.5. Sometimes there's some 10s out there, some 10.5s even as well. Their at-large games are against the Miami Dolphins and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their key losses: wide receiver Ryan Grant, Dontrell Inman, another wide receiver, tight end Eric Swoop, and wide receiver Zach Pascal. Key additions: defensive end edge rusher Justin Houston, wide receiver Devin Funchess, who they drafted, cornerback Rock Yassin, defensive end Ben Banagu, wide receiver Paris Campbell from Ohio State, offensive linebacker Bobby Okikuri, sorry for destroying his name, safety Kari Willis, and there's a bunch of other guys there as well. They had 8-9 draft picks. Before the draft, I thought this Colts team was an edge rusher away from winning a Super Bowl. I did. Now that the Colts have nabbed Justin Houston from Kansas City, I think that it's going to be huge to this team. Just absolutely huge. I have to say that the Colts squad, they didn't lose anybody. Ryan Grant, Dontrell Inman, when they get Funchess. Are you kidding me? And plus, they drafted Paris Campbell. No, they didn't really lose anybody. And I'll tell you this, I was wrong about Luck. He looked great last year. He looked in shape. He looked determined. Man, I'm hearing that Paris Campbell is wowing people in the OTAs right now, just wowing people. I think he could end up being the biggest steal of the draft. Now, the Colts had some big injury woes at the beginning of last year, like when they played the Patriots. I saw how injured this team was. Leonard, their draft pick, Darius Leonard, was injured. But they did also have the easiest schedule in the league last year. So I think the fact that Miami is one of their at-large games really helps their schedule this year. I have their schedule at medium easy, probably because Miami's right there with like one of the lowest season win totals. So you got to love that. And I also love the fact that they're just going to be better than every team in their division. So Vegas has them at 9.5 wins. What I have is them starting from 10 wins last year. Their Pythag was at 10.7, so they're at 10.4. They gain a half game back from injury. Remember all those injuries at the beginning of last year? Lost some games because of it. I take away a game because they're easy schedule last year. But the fact that they're medium easy this year, I give them a half game back. I don't take away anything for what they lost. I don't take away a quarter game, half game. I take away 0 for the players they lost, and I give them a full game back for who they drafted and who they picked up in free agency. Vegas has them at 9.5. I have them at 11.4 wins. This is a play. Go bet the over.
Oh, yeah!
I also bet them to win their division at plus 100. I'd get that right away because that thing's going to be gone. Next, we have the Tennessee Titans. And the Tennessee Titans had 9 wins last year. They're kind of surprising. Their Vegas win total is 8.5. Their at-large games are against Buffalo and Cleveland. Their key losses: guard Josh Klein, guard Quentin Spain, edge rusher Derek Morgan, and I think there's a safety in there as well. So Sorry. Jonathan Cyprian. Defensive tackle Benny Logan. Tight end Luke Stocker. Quarterback Blaine Gabbert. And offensive coordinator Matt LaFleur. And I remember when I wrote this up, I did add Matt LaFleur because he's very impactful, in my opinion, or he was last year, to this Tennessee Titans team. Their key additions: guard Roger Saffold, wide receiver Adam Humphries, defensive end Cameron Wake, quarterback Ryan Tannehill, who they drafted, defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, wide receiver A.J. Brown, guard Nate Davis, safety Amani Hooker, offensive linebacker DeAndre Walker, and inside linebacker David Long. So, to be honest with you, I can make this argument about the Tennessee Titans schedule that it could be the hardest in the league. Their at-large games are against some pretty improved teams with Buffalo and Cleveland. You know, everyone's hyped up on Cleveland. Buffalo's season win total is at 7. I do not think this team did a lot in the offseason. Okay. And I'm not sure Adam Humphries out of Tampa is actually good, or if he was just open all the time at Tampa, you know, being that Deshaun Jackson was there and obviously O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate, and he might have been just left open. Okay. So I'm not sold on Adam Humphries. I think the Titans drafted a little bit too much for next year because their number 1 draft pick, Jeffrey Simmons, had a torn ACL, and he's going to be missing most or all of the 2019 season. Now, getting Brown in the second round, I think was some good value. A.J. Brown's a very good receiver. He's speedy. But to be honest, the guy throwing to him, Marcus Mariota, I was never really sold on him, and I think Matt LaFleur got the best out of him, but he left to the Green Bay Packers to be head coach. So they had to promote their tight ends coach, Arthur Smith, to offensive coordinator, which leaves huge question marks for next season. My number is a lot lower than this. And here's how I got it. They had 9 wins last year, but their Pythag was only 8.26, so I averaged it to 8.7. I give them a quarter game back for being injured. They were a little bit injured last year. Mariota missed a couple games. But their schedule was 0 wins for medium schedule, not taking anything or giving them anything, but their schedule is one of the hardest in the league. So I'm taking away a game for who they lost in free agency. I'm taking away a game for who they gained in the draft, and in free agency, I'm only giving them a quarter game. Okay. And so I have them at 6.95 wins, which makes my threshold of over 1.5. So this is also a play in itself. We are taking the under 8.5 wins for the Tennessee Titans.
Woo!
All right, last but not least, at least I don't think this year in this division, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. And their Vegas win total is at 8. They had a terrible year last year. Last year, they had 5 total wins. Remember, they were in the playoffs the year before, almost beat the Patriots, choked in the fourth quarter. And then all of a sudden, they come back with 5 wins. Okay? So let's see what happened here. Their schedule. This year's medium hard. Well, because they have to play the Colts twice, and obviously the Texans. Their at-large games are against the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals. Their key losses: defensive tackle Malik Jackson, running back TJ Yeldon, running back Carlos Hyde, quarterback Blake Bortles, wide receiver Dante Moncrief, offensive tackle Eric Flowers, right tackle Jeremy Parnell, tight end Austin Safarian Jenkins, that was injured the whole year anyway. Quarterback Nick Foles for key additions. Inside linebacker Jake Ryan, tight end Jeff Swaim, wide receiver Chris Conley, running back Thomas Rawls, and running back Alfred Blue. You're my boy, Alfred Blue, whom they drafted. Defensive end, outside linebacker Josh Allen, offensive tackle Jawan Taylor, tight end Josh Oliver, safety Quincy Williams, running back Raquel Armstead, quarterback Garner Minshew, and defensive tackle Dontavius Russell. Here's the summary. The Jaguars definitely lost a lot in free agency this year, and their offensive line will look a little bit different this year. But I have to say that I really do like their draft. I do. Let's cut to the chase. This team is going to go as far as Nick Foles takes them. Okay? And after a very disappointing 5 wins last year, I think this team is going to be in line for some progression. Okay, so Vegas win total has them at 8 from 5 wins last year. So Vegas, unfortunately, thinks the same thing. Some of the keys to this season is going to be how well the skill positions shake out with Leonard Fournette's health. He gets injured a lot. And Marquise Lee and D.D. Westbrook's potential of breaking into 1,000-yard plus receivers. Okay, let's face it. The biggest wins this team had was getting Nick Foles. Okay. And obviously, the second biggest thing is drafting Josh Allen, who fell to number 7 from Kentucky. A lot of people have had Josh Allen top 3 on their draft board. He fell to number 7 with this Jaguars team. Now, this is another scenario when Vegas puts the win total at 8. And you're like, oh my God, before this came out, I wanted to bet over their win total, but Vegas already sees it as a 500 team anyway when they only won 5 games last year. So like I said earlier, it's tough to get to that 8 number. As a matter of fact, my number's at 7.1, but I'm certainly not wanting to go under. And here's how I got it. Jaguars, 5 wins last year. Their Pythag was 5.29, so average it to 5.1. Give them a half game back for all their injuries they had last year. And their schedule was medium hard last year, so you give them a half game back because they made the playoffs the year before. And their schedule is medium hard this year, so take away a half game. For everybody they lost, all those linemen, I'm taking away a game. And, who they gained back, like I said, I thought it was huge getting Nick Foles. I love Josh Allen in the draft. I gave them probably as much as I gave anybody, just like the Oakland Raiders, 2.5 for what they did in free agency, 2.5 wins, but that only brings me to 7.1. So that's no play. But I definitely don't lean to the under, even though their win total is 8, because this team can be very dangerous. And like I said, Nick Foles is extremely clutch. All right. So in summary, our plays are the Colts. Take them over 9.5 or 10 wins. Even if it's at 10, I like the over. And under for the Titans, under 8.5. And lean under on the Texans. And no play on the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, without further ado, let's get in on our guest, Joey Shadeck from thebettingbuck.com. And now I am very pleased to bring in Joey Shadeck from thebettingbuck.com, which is www.bettingbuck.com, to go over his sportsbook reviews, website, and information to help you select a great sportsbook. You can follow Joey on Twitter at JShadeck. How you doing, Joey?
I'm doing great, Kiev. Thanks for having me. I'm really glad I get to finally come on here.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you. The off season, people think it's going to be a little bit more dead, but there's all kinds of things to talk about. The NBA's over, the NHL's over, but people are literally gearing up for the football season, and no better time to talk about what sports books they should be looking at, and no better person to have on than you, being that you manage a full sports book review site, my man. What got you started doing that?
Yeah, so I've always been a hobby sports bettor, and then with working for Rank Media Group, which is where I work now, I have had the opportunity to kind of take that passion and write reviews on different sports books and cover the state-by-state legislative news cycle of what's happening and what states are legalizing sports betting and all that good stuff. So I was just lucky to work for the right company at the right time and get to combine a little bit of work and play at the same time.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, man. And I checked out your site. It's really good. And other people, you listeners out there, should definitely be checking it out. It's got a lot of great information. There's books out there that you might want to avoid. And I think we should get right into that, my man. Why don't we start out with, let's just general, what sports books have the best odds? And I guess you can even say for which sports, future odds, or what are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So I was thinking maybe we could go down the list: football, basketball, soccer, baseball, hockey, and just kind of rattle off between some of the offshore sites and then some of the U.S.-based sites, namely in New Jersey, but that will be expanding across the country as more and more states pass legislation.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Sweet. So first things first, we'll get into